entering this matchup, the most hyped up player that we've seen, in all honesty, since LeBron in 2003 is Victor Wembanyama. Victor Wembanyama is in his second year now, and the hype for him is sky high. He's 8th in MVP odds as a second-year player. He is projected to have one of the best seasons we've ever seen. And all of a sudden, in the performance last night against Dallas, things fell flat. He played terribly in the game. When he played against Dallas, he put up 17 points for 5 for 19 from the field, went 1 for 8 from behind the arc, got 9 rebounds, was getting bullied by Derek Lively. And Wemby did not look like this all-star, all-world MVP player that most people think he is going to be, and also think that he should be right now. But with all that said, I think it's a little unfair to put all these expectations on him. Victor Wembanyama is a phenomenal player, and I think that a lot of people recognize that. But the hype for him has to die down a little bit, at least for this season. And I say that because when you look at history, when you look at all the great players that ever existed, you can't name me one player who's put up incredible numbers their second year, who's led their team to a winning record or to the playoffs in their second or third year, because it's never happened. When you look at the greatest of all times, when you look at LeBron James and Michael Jordan didn't have a winning season on the Bulls until his 4th year in the NBA. LeBron James didn't lead the Cavs to the playoffs until his 3rd year in the NBA. Kevin Durant didn't make the playoffs or have a winning record until the 3rd year in the NBA. And Wembanyama has all these expectations to be the best, to be the greatest. But I think we have to pump the brakes and realize, yes, he has the potential to be the GOAT. I think he can be. But that doesn't mean he has to be the GOAT right now. It was funny. Last night, before the game, or yesterday morning, I was reading an article by The Athletic, and they were talking about how Wembanyama can have the greatest sophomore seasons of all time, right? And if he had this sophomore year that they're predicting that he can easily have, then this would be like one of the best seasons I've ever seen in the NBA. He'd be Defensive Player of the Year, and he'd be the MVP. They said that if he beat out, so they showed the numbers for the most points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks scored by a second-year player in the NBA of all time since the merger. And so effectively it was saying to beat Trae Young's points per game scoring, he would have to average 29.7 points per game. To beat the rebounds per game by a second-year player set by Shaq, he would have to have 13.3 rebounds per game. To have the most assists by a 7-footer in their second year of the NBA, he would have to have 4.3 assists per game. And then to have the most blocks in a second year by an NBA player, he'd have to have 4.4 blocks per game. And to have the most steals by a player that's 7 feet or taller in the NBA of all time, he would have to have 2.1 steals per game. So you're telling me he put up 30, 13, 4, 4.5, and 2? Come on, let's be real. That's great expectations. He has the weight of the world on him, but that's just not realistic. And just to think that if he doesn't meet those expectations, he's a bad player, that's a disservice to him. That's a disservice to the league. And that's quite honestly, it just blows my mind. And when you name all those players, too, when you look at the people they had around him, they actually had guys that could contribute. Look, I like Harrison Barnes, but he's 33 years old, 34 years old. CP3 is entering his 20th year in the NBA, and he's not LeBron James. He's not great. He's not that good. He didn't have his first bucket until the 3rd quarter. Stephon Castle is cool, but he can't provide you any help offensively. Wemby's a great player, but to have these expectations of them even getting into the play-in is beyond my wildest imagination, because that's even a high expectation considering who he has around him and also considering the trajectory of all these other greats. It's just not likely. So Wemby has the potential to be great, and he can be, and he will be, and I truthfully think he can and will be the greatest of all time. But to expect those type of numbers and to expect a playoff appearance out of him, I don't agree with it. I mean, you guys let me know your thoughts. But looking to the other side of the pendulum in this game, the Dallas Mavericks. The Mavericks went to the Western Conference Finals. They won it. They went to the finals and they lost in 5 to Boston. And if you were like me, I was a little skeptical of the Mavericks. I didn't think they belonged in the finals. I was shocked that they got there. But they proved me wrong. They got there, and they had a great night against San Antonio. They put up 120. Luka played his first real game action since, I believe, the Olympics. Kyrie Irving looked great yet again. But how about Klay Thompson? Klay Thompson was ice cold. He was so good for Dallas. He went 6 for 10 from behind the arc. He scored 20 points. He was one of the leading scorers in the game. And he looked like he turned back the clock for Dallas. And if he can keep this pace up, Dallas is going to be very, very thankful for it. But I think more so than Dallas being thankful, I think the Lakers are going to have a ton of regret. As I mentioned, Dallas, Klay Thompson, he went 6 for 10 from behind the arc. 60%, 18 points from 3. He had the most threes made by a Maverick in their debut game. Look what happened to the Lakers on opening night. They shot 30 threes. They made 5. They went 5 for 30. That's terrible. They shot less than 17% from behind the arc. Klay Thompson made more than them and shot a third of the threes they did. And what was the biggest issue with the Lakers entering this season? Their inability to score threes, to shoot threes. Was J.J. Redick's biggest emphasis this season? Being able to knock down threes. And what was this big free agent that the Lakers wanted more than ever before? Klay Thompson. But they didn't have the front office savviness to be able to make the move happen. And we all saw what Klay said, well, I wanted to change the scenery. I wanted out of California to reset my mind. But if the money was right, if the team was right, he would have gone to Los Angeles, because one of the biggest reasons why he went to Dallas was because he loved Kyrie Irving and realized that Kyrie has the ability to, I know it's Luka's team, but he knows that Kyrie has the leadership and the experience to lead them to the finals. Do the Lakers not? LeBron's better than Kyrie. LeBron is, again, one of the best of all time. Anthony Davis put up 36 and 16. Why didn't you get Klay Thompson? It's because the Lakers, year in and year out, always fail to provide what their team needs. So this game really wasn't an applause to Dallas, but more of a pointing the finger at the Lakers and saying, you messed up yet again. The biggest player that would have fit your team didn't come to your team because you didn't have the ability to clear out cap and give him the contract that he wanted. You said you did, but it wasn't an official offer letter.